Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show. We are at Week 5 on the Gruely True Sports Network. The NFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, the future of sports medicine. To find out about all the products from Replenishing Care, go to thegruelytruth.net, click on the banner. I am one of your co-hosts for the NFL Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in a man whose football season ended last week, Matt Andruscavage. How you doing, Matt?
Football season ended, yeah. Well, I really can't argue with that. I'm doing pretty good despite all of that.
All right. And Matt, of course, is a 49ers fan, so that's why his season ended last week. Next up, we have somebody whose season ended this week, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Brian?
Bah humbug.
See, I'm a Bengals fan, so I got to grasp onto whatever I can here.
Your season ended at the beginning of the year, right?
I don't know, because I'm pretty sure my team is 3-1.
It's true.
Okay. And next up, our other co-host played for the Carolina Panthers, so that team's still alive. Played for the Cincinnati Bearcats, of course, in Cincinnati, and the Bengals are still alive. Help me welcome to the show, the only winner on this show outside of myself, Tony Pike. How you doing, Tony?
Good. How are you? Bye week and a Bengals win. It couldn't be any better. It's a great weekend.
Won them both that way. All right, let's start off with this. We had another tie in the NFL, and the question is there a difference between what Mike Vrabel did and what Frank Reich did, Tony? Because one is being torn apart, the other one is being lauded, when really they both went for the win. One of them, failed. One of them was successful. What was your take on both coaches here?
I like it. I think it's a situation where you're really trying to send a message to the team and that you're trying to change the culture, because both of those programs, that's what's trying to be pushed across here. They're trying to change what's been the case for a couple losing seasons or struggling here and there a little bit. I would just like to see it more at the end of the year. I think the week would, if it's week 14 or 15 and you know what you have ahead of you and you need that win, I agree going for a little bit more. I think this early in the year it's just a little risky because that could come back to haunt you with so many ties already in the NFL. It could come back to haunt you in a game that you could have tied, you end up losing, and can see problems that way.
All right, Brian, what's your take on it? Because to me, you either win or you lose, and the loss is a tie. I mean, I don't know. I just like the fact that if it's my team, that they're going for the win. I want a coach that is playing to win. We saw with Doug Peterson in the Super Bowl last year what a coach playing to win can mean to a team.
Yeah, I enjoy the aggressive style of play. To me, the bigger question is when do we change the NFL overtime rule? Because I think it's outdated to a certain extent. I think there needs to always be a winner. Whether you go to a college rule or something like that, but I would just rather them change the rule. I think no game should ever end in a tie.
Well, and the thing that makes it even worse, Matt, is the rule changed to a 10-minute overtime with these rules, which to me is going to make probably half the games end up in a tie. And the thing that I really don't like about it is if you look at what the NFL says, they said they do it for player safety. But if they're doing it for player safety, why are they still playing games on Thursday night?
Well, that's exactly right. First of all, with the overtime rules, the way that they are right now, the fact that they went from 15 minutes to 10 minutes, you're going to have a lot more ties because teams are going to, the team that wins the toss is going to try, obviously, to get a touchdown, but they're going to take the field goal if they can get it. And now you're talking about running the clock. The other team's going to be as cautious as they can. It's just there's not enough time now. Teams are going to play this differently. Brian's right. They need to change this. This is the only professional sport in America that allows ties. This is outdated. They need to do something to make it so that there's no tie. And the players' safety, are you kidding me? Thursday Night Football is a beast. Ask any player who's ever played in it. They tell you that you don't have enough time to recover. It's just too hard on their bodies. It's not about player safety. This is about money.
Yeah. So when we look at this, and we look at this past week, which was an interesting week, the Rams and Chiefs look like the two best teams right now. What do you think is the big story from week 2, Matt, or week 4, Matt?
Week 4. Well, obviously, like you said, the Rams and the Chiefs, I think, are the clear number 1 and number 2. It's going to be fun when they play against each other this year. I like, you guys brought up the Eagles and Titans game. I thought that was a really interesting game. The fact that the Titans won, I really think Vrabel's doing a good job over there. They, what are they? Are they 3-1? And I didn't see that coming this year. I think we talked at the beginning of the year. The Titans seem to be a team that a couple of years ago was on the rise, but now we kind of just look at them as a 9-7 team. They are playing very well right now. We'll see if they sustain it. But that was interesting that the Eagles, were not able to hold them off and kind of keep pace with the Rams. I think they're 2-2 now. And then the other story is the Bears. The fact that they not went into Tampa. Tampa went to Chicago, but they absolutely stifled Ryan Fitzpatrick, which isn't completely shocking. I guess what was more surprising was how well the Bears offense played. They were balanced. Mitchell Trubisky, I don't think anyone thinks that a 6-touchdown performance is the norm, but but in that situation, he was accurate. He played very well. Kind of the opposite of what we all probably think about Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, and if Mitchell Trubisky is going to continue to play like that, the Bears can win this division.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Tony, what was your big take?
Well, I think you mentioned how good the Rams are. I was more impressed last night with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs because up to that point, everything seemed to be coming really easy to Patrick Mahomes. And now you're down 10 points in the fourth quarter at Denver with that pass rush, obviously the left-handed pass. They converted 2nd and 30 like it was 2nd and 3. He just seems to me like he's always in control. He's always collected. I think he's the real deal. I think going forward, you get the Chiefs and the Jaguars this weekend. I think that's going to be one of the best matchups of the year. Outside of that, the Browns somehow find the Browns' way to lose with the non-fumble call, the bad spot. And then, it sounds like the homer job, but this Cincinnati Bengal team that is crossing off things that have beaten them in the past, not overcoming fourth-quarter deficits, Andy Dalton in prime time. You go into a game and you give up, I think, almost 75% on third down to Atlanta. Your defense looks abysmal, and you find a way to win with 2 fourth-down conversions on the last drive. It just seems to me, and it's so hard as a Bengals fan because you've grown up and you've been let down, and so many times it's hard to say this is the year. But it just in Cincinnati right now, it has a different feel around this team.
Yeah, and the thing that stood out to me was just the fire Dalton played with. And on defense, the defense gets a bad call, and you see Dalton running off the sideline to yell at an official being restrained. I don't think we've ever seen that from Dalton.
No, absolutely, and it is. It's been the fire. That A.J. Green in an interview yesterday said he was making jokes and was so calm on the last drive. He to me, you look at, obviously, the 4-interception game against Carolina, 2 of those are on John Ross, and 1 of those is on the tight end. So he's been playing extremely well. They're scoring at an unbelievable percentage in the red zone with touchdowns. I just think that he's a different animal, and obviously a Bill Lazor offense he's very comfortable with. You get Joe Mixon back this week, it should only help him.
Yeah, Joe Mixon is a big help in the passing game and the running game. Of course, they lost Tyler Eifert, but we all knew they were going to lose Tyler Eifert at some point. Brian, what's your big takeaway?
Well, everybody kind of took a lot of it, but I think the biggest thing was going back to the Rams. Goff threw for 465 and 5 touchdowns. You watch the Rams offense. Again, there's so many cookie-cutter offenses in the NFL, but they're actually a fun, enjoyable. I'm kind of putting them in that category of some of the really good offenses that are enjoyable to watch. They can run the football, they can throw the football. Great receiving core. They just can beat you so many different ways offensively, and that was another one of those games. Some really good games this week. Obviously the Bengals game, which was on down here in North Carolina, and I really did enjoy that. It was a fun game to watch. The Rams game was good. There were some really good games in the NFL this week. Again, the controversies on the hits and quarterbacks and things like that, notwithstanding, but some actual enjoyable games instead of some of these yawners that we've had through the first few weeks.
All right, and let's go ahead and let's go to Week 5 in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts, who could easily be 4-0 right now. A little bad luck, fumble here, fumble there. They will go to New England to take on the Patriots. I don't think this is near the rivalry it used to be. The Patriots shut down the Dolphins. They showed that they're still the best team in the AFC East, and that Miami, in my opinion, is a fraud. I'm going to take the Patriots in this game. Matt?
Yeah, I think I wasn't on with you guys last week, but and I think it looks like we all had similar thoughts. The Patriots, in historical fashion, they have issues early in the season, but once you put them up against a division foe, even when that division foe is playing well, New England finds a way to just absolutely shove them aside and say, no, we're still on top. And that's what they did with the Dolphins. I don't see the Colts being able to have the firepower nor the defense to stop a New England team that's going to get Julian Edelman back. And Josh Gordon's only going to get healthier. That really bodes well for their offense. They're running the ball well.
Too. Yeah.
Yes. Sony Michel is playing very well. James White is really involved. James White's one of those guys that you don't really hear much from until the playoffs, and then all of a sudden he becomes a stud. They're using him right now, and he's playing outstanding.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, once again, Patriots find a way to, this when everybody's starting to get ready to jump off that wagon, they always find a way to get everybody back on it and realize they're still the Patriots. And I don't think this is going to be any different. I've seen a few, here and there Colts games, and this is a team that could be 4-0, but they're not. They're 1-3. When you watch them, they seem to will always find some way, something little, to lose a football game. And against the Patriots, you still cannot do that. And so I think the Patriots will win this one.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think when you look at the Colts, having Andrew Luck throw the ball last week 62 times, granted he threw for 4 touchdowns and over 450 yards. That's not what you want to have with Andrew Luck coming off his surgery and all the problems he's had. And again, like you guys said, we always think that this is the year the Patriots fall off. They're clearly ready to go, and now they get that extra layer back. Now you get Julian Edelman back. You got Josh Gordon. You got Gronkowski. You got the running game going with Michelle and James White. They seem to be finding their rhythm. I think they win this one pretty easy.
All right, next up we get the Denver Broncos, who suffered a heartbreaking setback last night to the Kansas City Chiefs. They'll go to New York to face the Jets, who got dominated by the Jaguars. Tony, who do you like in this one?
For a loss last night, I was actually leaving that game impressed with Denver. If Case Keenum hits Demaryius Thomas on that third down at the end of the game, it's obviously a whole different story. But I thought they took one of the best offenses in football, and they showed that they can still be a dominant defense and still have success. And I know the final stat line doesn't show that, but I think they can do enough against a Jets team that's definitely spiraling in the wrong direction.
All right, I agree with Tony. I think the Broncos are just a better team. I think they win this game, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are the better team. A little concerned. I know the Broncos at times through the years when they come to the East Coast, kind of like San Diego, or I said it, Los Angeles Chargers. They've had problems when they come to the East Coast. But I don't see that happening here. I think Denver will win this.
All right, Matt, is it a clean sweep?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you guys. Mainly because of the defense. I just think they're going to give Sam Darnold all kinds of problems. I don't think the Jets have the running game that would be necessary to take the pressure off of Darnold, and I also don't think they have the defense to really stop the Broncos' offense. The Broncos have enough on offense to be a problem. So, yeah, I'm going with Denver as well.
All right, next up we got the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions, after a slow start, terrible first outing against the Jets, have rebounded. Played fairly well the last couple weeks, even though they came up short in Dallas last week. Green Bay, after the rough loss to Washington, beats the Bills 22-0, which to me is almost like a loss when you only beat the Bills by 22 points. Matt, who do you got, Packers or Lions?
I don't really think either team's all that good. I think the Packers' defense is playing a little better than expected, but also, when you consider who they played with the Bills. But got to give them credit on the defense side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, I don't think they look good at all. But on the other hand, it's, Detroit. I think Detroit can win this game. I just don't know if I can pick them. It's at home. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Packers here, but I could definitely see the Lions winning this game just because the Stafford's upright and they've got enough on that offense to give the Packers defense a problem.
Yeah, and I can see them winning it so much that I'm going to take Detroit in this one, Tony.
Yeah, for me it is. It's a toss-up. I just think that Aaron Rodgers has this effect and this hold over the Lions where they can't get over that hump, much like we talked about Tom Brady and the Patriots with the Dolphins. I think that carries over. And this is that time now where they've chose not to shut Aaron Rodgers down. So we need to start seeing something more out of Rodgers. If the Packers want to make any type of run at the playoffs this year, it has to start with Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a game he might have a chance to start and find his footing a little bit more. I'm going to take the Packers.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. As long as, with Aaron Rodgers, they always give them the opportunity, and I'm still just not impressed with the Lions. So I really think the Aaron Rodgers effect will show here, and then they'll win this.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the reason I'm taking the Lions in this game is that I think the Lions have showed improvement since week 1, and I don't think the Packers have. And I think Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, I think there's something wrong there, Matt, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers is real happy right now.
No question about it. Now it's funny because that was kind of talked about around here, and then the next day we see an article that says Mike McCarthy is very happy with his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. The moment you have to come out and say that, that
wrong.
Probably means there's something wrong.
Yeah. But, all right, next up we get the New York Giants, who came up short again this last week, at the Carolina Panthers. When you look at this game, Brian, what are your thoughts? I mean, can the Giants – my concern here is the Giants' offensive line against that Panthers front seven.
Yeah. The Giants' offensive line, I think, is a concern against anybody. But even more so in this, I don't feel like they can do enough. And look, I think the Giants, when you compare them to last year, better football team, but that offensive line just is so poor. I think the Panthers will win this. I think it'll be a little better game than some people feel, but Panthers are just going to be too much at home, and that defensive line will give them a lot of opportunities.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Brian. I see this game, at least in the first half, being relatively close. I think the Giants do have the ability to make some plays with Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard and Saquon Barkley. But once you get into the second half, I see the Panthers defense being able to stop them, and the Panthers offense doing enough to win this game. In Carolina, I just don't see the Giants going in there and winning.
All right, Tony?
Yeah, I'm the same way. The Panthers are going to get Curtis Samuel back. at wide receiver. They're in desperate need of another go-to guy at that position. They're coming off a bye week. New York coming off another bad week. I just think in Carolina, that's a tough team to beat at home. They're going to be too much for the Giants, and I agree. I think that pass rush and Luke Kuechly is going to be all over Eli Manning.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking the Panthers. Next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's any doubt that Mike Vrabel's done as good a job as any coach in football this year. I'm going to stay with the Titans. How about you, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans. That, the 1 week experiment with Buffalo where they shocked Minnesota now seems to be a situation where maybe Minnesota's defense isn't what we thought. Josh Allen looked rough against the Packers. This is a situation to me with Tennessee. I saw some on Vrabel earlier. The way he talks to Mariota, tells him to go out there and play. He's excited to watch him play. He just seems to be a guy, kind of like, and not on the level of McVay with the Rams yet, but he seems to be a guy that the players are gravitating around. And when that happens, good things happen, and that's why they're sitting at 3-1. I think they win this week.
All right, Matt.
Sorry, I did not even hear what the matchup was.
Oh, come on, Matt. Stay off your cell phone. The Titans at the Bills.
Viking. Who did you say?
Titans at the Bills.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills.
Got it. Okay, Tennessee at the Bills. Well, not a lot to think about here. The Titans are playing good football right now. They're doing enough to win. They're probably not going to blow out the Bills just because I think they've got some injuries. I think Mariota's still banged up, but there's really just no reason to pick the Buffalo Bills in anything right now. I think they had their Super Bowl against the Vikings. That's the best we're going to see out of them this year. I don't see Tennessee losing, so Tennessee.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I gave you the Titans.
Oh, you did? All right. Matt threw me off since he wasn't paying attention. Brian, did we get your pick on this one?
No, you didn't get my pick, but it's an easy pick. Titans.
All right. Next up, we get the Atlanta Falcons, who may be the funnest team in the NFL this year to watch, but they may not be a playoff team because of a lack of defense because of injuries. Takes on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we all know the story with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brian, do your Steelers get the win here?
No, they do not. Picking the Falcons.
I agree. I just don't see how they're going to be able to keep up with the Falcons scoring. I think this could be 47-46, though. Tony?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is tough. Matt Ryan and the Falcons are a totally different team on the road. It's crazy that when you're looking at Week 5, this is almost an elimination game for whatever team loses this. When you look at the division leaders and where things are going, the Steelers get the news that Le'Veon Bell looks to be coming back. They got a rivalry game on the horizon. With that being said, I think they find something this week. Whatever's been going on with Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, Roethlisberger just seems to be off. I think at home, though, that gets corrected, and they beat a Falcons team that is great at home, not so great on the road.
How dare you, Tony? Matt?
I'm really kind of leaning on with Tony here. The thing with I think both teams are in real trouble. Atlanta's got some pretty good injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Linebacker out, both safeties out, and that's a problem.
Devonta Freeman.
But the thing is, Devonta Freeman, I believe, is coming back this week, which should really help them. I am going to take Atlanta in a close game, but nothing would surprise me here. I do think when you said elimination game, I don't think you're really far off on that because both teams really need this game, and they'll be really hurting. Whoever loses this game is going to be hurt.
Yeah, because whoever loses that game is probably going to be 3 games out in their division, and we're about 30% of the way through the season, so it's getting a little bit more serious. The Baltimore Ravens will go to Cleveland to battle the Cleveland Browns. My look at it is this. I think as long as Hugh Jackson's there, I think Cleveland's a 3 or 4 win team at most. I know they beat the Jets, but the Ravens aren't the Jets. I'm going to take the Ravens, Tony.
Yeah, as much as I've went on a limb for the Browns this year and picked them a couple times, the way that they're losing games, whether it's missed field goals, play calling, the non-call and the fumble this week with Derek Carr, bad spot on the ball, I have no reason to take the Browns until something changes. I'm going to go with the Ravens, who, for all intents and purposes, they seem to be for real. And Joe Flacco seems to be reinvigorated. Lamar Jackson, when he comes in, does great. I just think that this is a Baltimore team that can be for real this year. I'm going to take them this week.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm going to take the Ravens. I was really impressed with their game against Pittsburgh. They seem to be a team that we write off, and yet again, and Mike and I have both said this. I think Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he really shows that, because this isn't an uber talented team, but man, they find a way to do it every week.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I'll take Baltimore on this. I think they've, just for the simple fact that the Browns just, if there's a way for them to lose, they're going to find it. And John Harbaugh, I feel safer with him. I think the Ravens are playing well as of late. So Baltimore win this game.
All right, next up, we've got the Miami Dolphins, who were exposed against what's going to be the eventual Super Bowl 53 world champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. Matt, who do you like in this one?
Interesting game. I think Cincinnati probably wins this. I think the Dolphins could give them some trouble. Cincinnati's playing good, though. I got to give them credit. I thought they played really well on the road, especially in the fourth quarter. I don't know how John Ross is. I thought something hobbling with his hamstring. That's what it looks like to me. But, losing Tyler Eifert, I'm not going to say it's a devastating injury. But, boy, they really would be a lot better off without him. He's such a red zone threat.
See, I don't think so. Tyler Kroft last year, I think, had 7 touchdown receptions, most in the red zone.
Yeah, I know. I know Tyler Kroft is good.
Better blocker.
Okay, I like Eifert a lot more in the passing game. He to me is one of those guys that can be a top tight end in the league if he could stay healthy. But I'm not saying they're completely dead in the water because they don't have him, because they played well without him. They've always had to play well without him. But they would just be so much better off if they had him. But getting Burfict back this week probably really helps their defense, because the tackling has been rough. I don't know. You tell me what you think here. Drake Kirkpatrick just doesn't look like the same guy that was playing pretty well in 2015. He was just
I don't remember Drake Kirkpatrick ever playing up to what he should have. I don't know. What's your opinion on Drake, Tony?
I am not a big fan of Drake Kirkpatrick. I think, honestly, if Darqueze Dennard and Drake Kirkpatrick had the same contract, that Darqueze Dennard would start over Drake Kirkpatrick.
Yes.
They paid him a lot of money, so you have to stick with him. But this is a situation, you saw him walk away from George Iloka after signing him to a longer-term deal.
Yeah,
if Drake Kirkpatrick doesn't improve and be a better corner, they got to look to move on from that, because without a doubt, that is a huge weakness for them right now.
Yeah, I'd rather have Pac-Man Jones right now.
He looked great last night, actually, in Denver.
I know. I'd rather have Pac-Man. Pac-Man's a good football player. He's not the greatest guy off the field, but I tell you, I've met Pac-Man. He's a pretty good guy. So, things happen. Brian, Dolphins, Bengals.
I'm taking the Bengals. I'm not sold. I'm not sold. Yes, the Dolphins are 3-1, but I'm not sold on them. Tannehill has had a great record here recently, but just something about them just doesn't click with me. And I really like the Bengals. I like the way they played against Atlanta, and I think they'll continue that for right now.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are playing Super Bowl right now. They're coming home. Miami got exposed a little bit last week against the Patriots, but if there's ever a game that screams out trap game, it would be that for the Bengals. It's a game where they're coming off an emotional, huge win in Atlanta. You look to the next week, you got Pittsburgh coming to town. Huge rivalry game, obviously. But this week they get Vontaze Burfict back. It looks like they're going to get Joe Mixon back. I think the Bengals are too much for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we've got one of the games of the week, I think, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs. And when I look at this game, Tony, my biggest question is, can Blake Bortles perform in Kansas City? I mean, one week he's awesome, the next week he's not. I mean, he's so up and down. it makes this team really hard to get a gauge on.
Yeah, to me, this is the one of the games I'm looking forward most throughout the season already. The exceptional Jacksonville defense, Patrick Mahomes, and what this offense is doing. But I agree with you. This is a bad Kansas City defense. Might be one of the worst in the league. So I think Blake Bortles has an opportunity to make plays, to make things happen. If he makes those plays, it could be interesting. But I think there's no defense right now that can stop what Kansas City is doing. I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Jaguars are going to win this game. I like their defense. I think their defense is better than Denver's. Plus the fact that the Chiefs are 4-0, and the way the NFL is nowadays, they're going to lose pretty soon. And really, my question is not Patrick Mahomes when we talk about Kansas City. It's that defense. And the fact is this, if they're getting in shootouts, it's really hard to get in shootouts and continue to win shootouts all the way through a Super Bowl. I mean, not even the greatest show on turf did that in Super Bowl 6. You can slow them down by running the ball. The Jags can run the ball. You've got Blake Bortles who can make big plays. And you've got a defense that can at least slow down Kansas City a little bit. I like the Jaguars in the upset. Matt, am I nuts?
I don't think you're nuts, but I think you're wrong.
you usually think I'm nuts, though, so that's good.
But I like the Jaguars' defense, obviously, but what I don't like here is Blake Bortles on the road in this situation. I don't think Kansas City's got the greatest defense in the world, but they've got enough of a pass rush to disrupt Blake Bortles. I'm not sure Leonard Fournette is completely healthy. I think that's a problem. I just don't think they're going to be able to score enough points. And while obviously the Jaguars have a good defense, I still think Kansas City is going to get at least 21 points. And, they could get a special teams play or something like that. They've just got so many ways they can score. I'm going to take KC.
I don't worry about Bortles on the road because I watched him in the playoffs on the road scorch Pittsburgh, Brian. And I'm not bringing that up just because you're a Steelers fan and I wanted to rub it in. Maybe I was a little bit. But still, I've seen Blake Bortles on the road in a bigger situation than this play well. And
but Fournette was healthy.
Yeah. But he still
that matters.
Jacksonville could say T.J. Yeldon's a good running back. And I'm sorry, but Leonard Fournette's always going to be injured. Leonard Fournette, I don't think, made it through an entire season at LSU without getting nicked up. I think it's just the way it is. I think Bortles is good enough to get this done, and Patrick Mahomes looks great. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, but I still don't think we know yet exactly how good he's going to be, Brian. It's a little early.
We don't, but I mean, I like what I've seen so
I do
far.
too, but I'm still 4 games.
Yeah, I like what I've seen so far, and I'm more sold on the Chiefs right now than I am Jacksonville. I just like the way the Chiefs are playing. That Monday night game, being down 10, and normally in the past that has been the death sentence for the Chiefs, and it wasn't. And Mahomes brings a certain kind of a tempo, a certain kind of a magic that Kansas City just didn't see with Alex Smith. Alex Smith would be good early, and then in situations like that, you didn't see him do stuff like that. You just didn't have that feeling that, man, they're coming back. But you felt that with Mahomes. I think that right now, I think Kansas City is just a better team, and I'll go with Kansas City.
All right, next up, Tony.
With Jacksonville?
No, you already picked us, didn't you? The Jaguars and
Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking for somebody.
I was nervous I missed one.
I know. I was waiting. I'm nervous because nobody picked with me. And I think the Jaguars are all around the better team, but the Chiefs' offense is pretty impressive. Next up, we've got the Oakland Raiders against the Los Angeles Chargers. Brian?
I'll go with the Chargers.
Matt?
They're just a better team.
Chargers. I mean, I'd be all right making a rule here that it's okay to say San Diego because I just can't ever say LA Chargers. It just doesn't, I don't know. But I'm going to take the Chargers.
All right. So, Tony, in deference to Matt, do you pick Oakland or San Diego in this game?
Oh, I got to say San Diego. I can't. I'm not sold on Oakland. They gave up 42 to Baker Mayfield's first start at home in Oakland. I think the Chargers are an actual contender this year. I'm going to take them.
All right. It just worries me that it seems like the Chargers struggle every week no matter who they play. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to stay with the Chargers just because I don't think the Raiders are very good. Next up, I think this game's up there with the Chargers and Jaguars. That's the Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. Both of these teams need a win here. And I think this is going to be one of the top matchups of the week. I think one of the top two, Brian.
What game? You click loud. What game are you? Say one more time what we were picking, because I didn't hear a word.
Minnesota, Philadelphia.
There we go. Okay, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game, and but I like Philadelphia at home. They just, they seem to always, play a little bit better at Lincoln Financial. So I'll take the Eagles. I do think this is going to be a really good game.
Matt?
Yeah, this is going to be a better game than the Vikings-Rams game was. This is just, the Vikings, both teams are desperate, especially the Vikings.
Vikings-Rams? The Vikings-Rams was a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was. I think this could be more of a defensive game than the other one was, but both teams are definitely with their backs against the wall. For some reason, I think the Eagles have a little bit more magic than the Vikings do. I think Dalvin Cook is really struggling. His hamstring is not right. He's really not involved a lot in their offense. I think that hurts Minnesota. Cousins is playing well. I'll give him that. But the defense really hasn't played well in a couple of weeks. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. But actually, about 3 weeks, the Vikings defense hasn't played well. That's like most of the season. So yeah. I like the Eagles here. But it will be a really good game.
You think maybe Dalvin Cook's upset because of the pay cut from Florida State to the NFL? I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles, Tony. What do you think?
I'm going to go Vikings. I agree. I think both teams are extremely desperate right now. I still don't think Carson Wentz is back to 100%. I don't think he's where he needs to be yet. And I think the Vikings have flat out got embarrassed the last 2 weeks. They're supposed to be a defensive team, one of the best in the league. They've been getting torched. I think they put all that aside, and I think they come out and have a better performance against the Eagles. And I think the Eagles take a few more weeks to get back on track, so I'll take the Vikings.
All right. Oh, let's see. Did I pick this game? Yeah, I'm taking Eagles. Next up, we got the Rams against Matt's favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks. Matt?
Rams at Seattle. Now, this is historically, well, at least in this decade, where Seattle is the better team, but the Rams usually find a way to beat them. The Rams have been a real thorn in the Seahawks' side for a number of years now. Well, at times everything's all reversed. I think the result is the same. I don't see any way Seattle's offensive line is going to be able to handle that defensive line. There's no way they're going to be able to get points. And we saw Jared Goff absolutely shred the Vikings defense. Seattle's defense is not very good. I don't care how loud that stadium is, the Rams are going to win.
All right, Tony?
Yeah, I am sold on the Rams. Obviously, the Earl Thomas situation in Seattle is a mess. That defense is a mess. The offensive line for the Seahawks is a mess. And when you look at coaching, what Sean McVay's been able to do right now as far as matchups go and get what he wants, the Cooper Kupp touchdown where he gets a matchup on the linebacker, his game planning, their execution is so good. Everyone's talking about Jared Goff. And, oh, by the way, they still have Todd Gurley, one of the best running backs in the league. I think the Rams are too much for the Seahawks.
All right, I agree. Brian, clean sweep?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. The Rams remind me of, the Steelers a couple of years ago in that they can beat you running the football, throwing the football. Great running game, great passing game. And they just, again, they're just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, but the scariest part of all of this, Brian, is this. The Steelers didn't have a defense like this.
No, and that's the whole thing that they're good defensively, they're good offensively, but I mean when you can just do the things that they do defensively and then do what they do offensively, I mean, it's hard for teams to come out and have a chance to win a football game because even if you play well defensively against their offense, they can still very easily shut you out.
Yeah. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to let Matt start off because this may be the only time this year that Matt picks his team to win a game.
I wouldn't say that, but it maybe for a little while. Remember, we played the Raiders. I'm not going to take the Raiders over my team. I'm definitely going to take the Niners over the Cardinals. Niners, even with the loss of Garoppolo, Beathard played actually pretty well last week. If the backup tight end, who's usually sure-handed, catches the ball that was thrown right to him on the 2-yard line instead of having it popped up in the air and taking back 90 yards the other way, they win the game. They played pretty well against San Diego, given some pretty rough circumstances. They're struggling in some ways on defense, but I just think they're better than the Arizona Cardinals. I just don't see really anything on the Cardinals that tells me that they're going to win. So it's not like they're not making a playoff push, but I think they can win this game.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'll agree with Matt, and I also agree with you. I think this may be one of the few games that they have a chance to win right now. But Cardinals are just bad football team. So I don't see any way they can win this. But I will say this: if they do win this, we may have to do something with Matt because he may lose his mind. So.
Yeah, that'll be a tough loss to swallow. I'll agree with that.
Matt has never had his mind. Let's see, Tony.
I mean, to me, this is one. If you're the Niners and you don't win, it's lights out anyway. I think the Cardinals are full rebuild. Josh Rosen, still not enough experience. Teams are going to load the box against David Johnson. I'll take the Niners.
All right, I'm picking the Cardinals. I just am. I'm picking the Cardinals. What do you mean, dear God? It's the Cardinals. I'm picking the Cardinals. These are like the 30th and 31st football teams in the NFL, so I don't think there's really a huge favorite either way. I think you can load the box against either quarterback and probably get away with it. I think this could be a 13-10 game. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys at the Houston Texans. The Texans finally got a win. The Cowboys have won 2 games now, so all their fans think they're going to the Super Bowl. Tony, Texans or Cowboys?
This is a game going into the season I would have been a lot more excited for than I am now. I don't think the Cowboys are good at all. I think the Texans found a little bit with their offense. Granted, it was against the Colts. I think the defense maybe takes another step forward. Deshaun Watson takes a step forward, and the Texans beat the Cowboys at home.
I agree. Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans at home. Again, it's the Cowboys, so it's hard to be excited. But here, yet again, another primetime game, and the Cowboys are on, and people wonder why the ratings for the NFL is going down.
Yeah, because I probably won't watch it. I'll watch a little bit here and there, but Matt?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Texans, I think, are going to take another step forward. They have, I think they've got the better quarterback. I think they've got the better defense, and they should win this game. Is Lamar Miller out? I don't remember seeing him last week.
Tony?
I don't know if he's out or not in this. I agree with you. He wasn't in much at all if he was last week.
Yeah. But either way, I think Houston wins this game just because I think Deshaun Watson can outperform Dak Prescott, and I think Prescott's going to be under fire from that defensive line.
All right, the last update on Lamar Miller, there's no further details on his injury. He is questionable for next week's game at best, the way it looks right now, but it doesn't look like they're letting people know a lot about what's going on there. So, Matt, you got the Texans, correct?
Yeah.
All right, next up, Monday Night Football, the Washington Redskins at Drew Brees. Drew Brees needs 201 yards to break Peyton Manning's record. They might as well give it to him now because I don't think, Brian, Drew Brees has ever played a game where he threw for less than 300 yards, did he?
No, I mean, we also go back to college on that. I don't ever remember him throwing for less than 200. He'll throw for over 200 in this one, and they will win the football game.
And I will make this statement. I believe that he will have the record before halftime, Matt.
No, that's very possible. Drew Brees to me is one of the most underrated all-time great quarterbacks. People just don't think of him among the great quarterbacks of all time. It's kind of a travesty that he's never won a league MVP. But the guy is just year after year so consistent, puts up incredible numbers, hasn't had a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball, been through a lot of adversity in his career, and he's so consistent.
Yeah, and to go farther with that, though, Matt, real quick, and you can continue, is this. If you go back to the mid-1990s, late 1990s, it seemed like a complete impossibility that the New Orleans Saints would ever win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. There was just no reason to think that they'd ever go and be able to do what they've done. That trade for Drew Brees, I mean, that didn't seem like a blockbuster trade. He had that one good season in San Diego. I mean, I don't remember him being like just lights out, but then all of a sudden he was pretty good, I think, in 03 or 04. And then when he got to New Orleans, it wasn't like, oh, wow, he's going to completely rescue their franchise. And then, but he sure did. I mean, the Saints have been an offensive firepower ever since he's been there. And now in this situation against Washington, with the amount of guys they've got around him, Alvin Kamara is just terrific. And Michael Thomas is one of the more underappreciated receivers in the league. They just got a lot of weapons, and I don't see Washington really stopping them. But I don't think Washington's going to also do enough on offense to disrupt New Orleans. So I'll take New Orleans.
All right, and when I watched this, a lot of people, the Saints started off the season, the first 2 or 3 games slow, Tony, especially defensively, and running game weren't there like they were last year. But I think we've seen a progression over the last 2 or 3 weeks where this team is starting to get to where we thought they would be at the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's taken a while to get going, but much like was said, Michael Thomas is extremely underrated. Kamara is great. Drew Brees is fantastic. I think this is a game where the Redskins and Alex Schmidt will keep it close for a half or a little bit into the third quarter. But somewhere in that third quarter, Drew Brees will put them up by 10 or 14 or something like that, and the Saints will come out of here with a win.
All right, guys, so that's all the Week 5 games. Brian, any final words? Wisdom, because Matt knows when we ask for final words, sometimes that can go south like it did last year a couple times. Tony wasn't here, but words of wisdom, Smitty.
Well, first of all, I'm going to take New Orleans Saints since you didn't ask me. So.
Oh, okay. I don't think I picked it either, so don't feel too bad.
You didn't pick it either, Mike.
I'm taking the Saints also.
Words of wisdom. Finish your picks.
I was thinking, man, that was quick. My words of wisdom was this: everybody just shut up and have a great week.
Okay. Matt, do you have anything maybe more wisdomy than that?
More wisdomy. Enjoy life. It's short, and because remember, the NFL season goes quickly. So if you enjoy football, take it all in because it will be gone soon.
Really? That's all you've got? All right, Matt or Tony. Let's see. I can't even remember anybody's name anymore. Tony.
I think it's interesting. This is a Week 5 week like we talked about, where some teams are already at the make or break point of their season, and obviously that's the Pittsburgh-Atlanta game, but a couple other teams out there. Like I said, I'm excited to see what Patrick Mahomes can do against one of the league's elite defenses, and I'll be following obviously the Le'Veon Bell situation going forward, because the Earl Thomas situation, you see why guys do that. to try to make their money and get paid. And the NFL is such a business, but you just hope, and for around the league, the Tyler Eifert injury in Cincinnati was so devastating. Guys work so hard in this league, and it really shows that at times this is, people think it's a game, but they're brothers out there. They're guys working their butt off. You just hope that you don't see injuries like you saw last week with Eifert.
Yeah, and you could tell by looking at the other Bengal players how much that affected them, too, seeing that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, and I think the next play was a sack, and then the punt got blocked the next two plays afterwards.
But then
it took them a while
held them to a field goal.
That.
And I think that when you look at this, I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl because it's the Bengals, and we know something's going to happen. But if it reminded me of anything, this may sound crazy, but if you look back to 1988, Game 2 at Philadelphia, a game nobody thought they would win, and Boomer Esiason, I think, threw a pass to Tim McGee right at the end of that game to win that game. I think that was huge because when I looked at this season going in, if they would have been, I thought they had to win the first 2 home games because I thought they'd lose the next 2 road games. And I thought at 2-2 they'd be all right with Miami coming to town. And now you look at it at 3-1, the way Pittsburgh's playing, this team could easily be 5-1.
Yeah, I really thought 2-2 out of the first 4 would have been great. They got 2 great opportunities ahead of them, and then it gets a little tougher. But Tampa's coming up, which is winnable. They have a chance to really put their foot down on this division and make a run for this thing.
Yeah, and I think even with games like Kansas City, New Orleans, they have the offense where they can outscore those teams. And it's not like those teams defensively are very good either.
Right, absolutely. They're going to put themselves in positions to win games. The defense just has to be better at some point. They're last in the league in third down efficiency. So they got to find ways to get off the field.
All right, Matt, final words?
I thought I gave some,
but I thought you'd come up with some better ones if I gave you another chance.
Well, I think Tony really probably had the best thought with the amount of games that there are teams that are this is kind of make or break. I think of the Eagles and the Vikings and the Steelers and the Falcons. So that's pretty important. We're going to see kind of a turning point. This is around the time of the year where we got those teams that are like the Tampa Bays that kind of come out and we all go, well, maybe, or with Miami, but then some of those teams come back to earth. I think we're going to start to see that, and then some of these other teams we're going to see who takes a step forward and who ends up dropping off. So that's usually where we're at this time of year.
Yeah, and I think between weeks 5 and 8, 5 and 9 is where you really separate who the contenders are with the pretenders. I want to remind everybody they can hear us every Tuesday night at 9:30 on thegruelingtruth.net. You can hear the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show with myself, Robert Drummond, who won 4 Grey Cups, and Brian Schmidt. That'll be Thursday night, Schmitty. Is that all right?
That's probably not the best night for me.
Well, then we'll do Wednesday
tomorrow
night. Schmitty obviously has a hot date.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he doesn't, but we're going to be on Wednesday night at 9:30. So we're going to wrap it up for now. I want to remind everybody you can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Tony Pike, Brian Schmidt, Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.